Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the T.H.O. Movie Reviews podcast, the show where we bring you passionate, honest, and insightful film criticism. I'm your host, Bennett Campbell Ferguson, and I'm here today with some of my wonderful colleagues, starting with Mo Shaunette. Mo, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
And also here we have Maxwell Meyers. Max, what's up?
Good. I don't know how close I'm supposed to be to the microphone.
You don't have to be close at all.
Are you sure?
Remember when we did this about a number of times at my house and you were like 5 feet away?
That's true, but we weren't in a wonderful bar.
That's
like
true,
the backstage bar.
I should say, yeah, we are in backstage. Yeah, it's very,
what?
very wonderful here.
I don't have any smelling sensors. Ask Ben.
Ben,
smell this. What is this?
Some kind of mustard, maybe?
I
Mustard aioli?
Maybe,
I ordered truffle fries, so I don't know if these are they or just like regular fries.
This is food criticism, by the way, now.
We are
Yeah,
now
those are truffle fries. All right.
Okay.
We're good.
We're actually here to review Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
And eat truffle fries.
And eat truffle fries.
Y'all getting your own damn truffle fries.
And
kidding.
I've got plenty to say about this one, but I'll turn it over to you guys first. Max, what did you think of the movie?
I loved it. Funnily enough, I loved it for very different reasons than I loved the first one.
Mm-hmm.
It does a lot of different things. I think it's nice to see what James Gunn does when they just kind of let him go and they give him more free range to just kind of do whatever. I really like the emotional connections he brings in. They felt almost a little bit forced at times, but overall I really liked them. I think it was great. I laughed. I had a great time. It just felt different from the last one, but not different in a bad way by any means.
It was definitely different, yeah. Mo, what about you?
I thought it was fine. I mean, stuff happens. I laughed. I watched some explosions. It wasn't. I didn't think it was that great. I thought it was fine. It's more the same with the first Guardians, but by now I'm kind of not necessarily numb to that, but just I'd be more excited. Like the first one, it came out of nowhere. It was wholly new and unseen. This one, it's still the same character dynamics, and it's fun and it's a good diversion, but it's not going to go into the pantheon of like the all-time greats of Marvel movies.
Well, this feels like a descending staircase, because I have to admit, I really did not care for it. I felt like it was awkwardly paced. I felt there was a huge sag in the middle on Ego's planet. I liked a lot of the things about it. I think there's some stunningly beautiful visuals. I think I like the psychedelic vibe, very Doctor Strange-esque. But I was disappointed. I think I'm in the minority among film fans in that I really didn't like the first one much either, but I did respect it because it was, an entertaining, lively movie, and this to me felt it didn't feel as airtight. It felt a little flabby, not quite as trim, not quite as carefully packaged. I mean, we have we reviewed the first one together 3 years ago, and a review I have fond memories of, by the way. And
I was Groot.
Yes, that's right. And so I mean, just thinking back to that review, in the first film, and you alluded to this, Max. This is different. This is a different. Has a different vibe than the first one. I wonder if you guys could talk about like what some of the kind of the changes in the vibe of the film from the first that maybe struck you.
I felt. I mean, like I said before, I think James Gunn is definitely trying to bring in more connections. This one is definitely has Peter's relation to his father and who he is and what that means and what he's always looked for. Supposedly, definitely plays a huge part. We talk about Gamora and Nebula and their relationship a little bit. We kind of talk about Rocket's feelings and why he does what he does, and those all play a huge part. And I think that kind of comes from the fact that it's like, I think James Gunn was really trying to avoid doing the same thing over again, and you really couldn't come from the left field like he did before. Like,
sure.
So when you can't come from somewhere totally left field. You kind of just need to explore what you already have and delve a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I think Guardians of the Galaxy and the Marvel Pantheon, it's rightly seen as the crazy, eccentric, subversive part of that world. But this, there's a lot of deliberately so a lot of sentimental moments in the first one, and I definitely think that's cranked up there with all the characters you mentioned. Definitely with Rocket and with Yondu as well, which is kind of unexpected. But Mo, what about you?
Yeah, it's an interesting place to take a sequel. It doesn't get bigger in a weird sense. Like, that's what you expect, is like this the sequel creep where things have to be bigger and more dangerous. Well, they saved the galaxy in the first one, so now they got to do it again.
Right.
And instead it turns its focus inward. It focuses on these interpersonal relationships and character drama. And for the most part, I think it works. I think for me, it felt very close to not very close to surface, just unsubtle, straightforward. It's characters saying how they feel, and like visual language just kind of supporting it. It does its job, but it's not game breaking in terms of relationship drama.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that, and I think
I think when the dialogue wasn't telling jokes, it was very expository.
Yeah,
I think the screenplay could have used a little punch up.
Definitely.
Someone has noticed online, one of the main one of the main variations on this one is that Nicole Perlman didn't come back to write the screenplay.
Right.
She's working on Captain Marvel now, but she more or less helped build Guardians from the ground up. She wrote the first screenplay for it, and then she worked with James Gunn when he was brought on as a director. And it feels like her voice. It may feel like her voice is missing here. I don't know enough about her work to say so. Again, we'll see when Captain Marvel comes out. I'm very much looking forward to that because, again, it's something new.
Yeah. We should mention that at this point too that there's some public disagreement among James Gunn and Nicole Perlman. Nicole Perlman says that the script that they filmed for the first one was pretty close to her vision. James Gunn says he overhauled it pretty significantly. So I mean, it's either way, they both stayed with Marvel. So I suppose they wrote that.
Yeah,
but
they're getting paid.
Yeah, but
Nicole Perlman finally got what she wanted, which was to write a female lead movie.
Which I'm so excited for.
Which is what she wanted to do for the beginning. I read that in an article. She said that that's what she wanted. They're like, we're not ready to do that yet. They're like, but you can have Guardians, and she's like, okay, I guess I'll take it. Like, she just kind of took what she could get, but she proved herself, and Miss Marvel.
She gets to write for Brie Larson.
There you go.
Which is awesome.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, in terms of like what you said about the dialogue, saying how the characters are feeling, I guess I think these are pretty entertaining characters, and I think like some of the stuff you have, like like that moment where Gamora says, "I thought you already had a family," like stuff like that. It's like
it's a bit on the nose.
It's a little. It's a little. I feel like I mean, Guardians kind of. I think the reason it resonated with people was because it was trying to do something different, and there were a lot of kind of hackney moments where it's like really they couldn't have done a little better, pushed it a little further. I mean, that's something that was a bump for me.
I don't know. I will say I really like the interplay between Gamora and Nebula. I liked that little resolution and that conflict.
It was basically just one scene.
I know it was just one scene, maybe this goes into spoiler territories, but I like that when it ultimately runs out, the person who really was at fault between the two of them actually was Gamora, not necessarily Nebula.
I'd say it was Thanos.
Well, I mean, sure, of course it was Thanos, but, I mean, between the two of them.
That's the idea that I latched on to, was that without that driving force of toxicity in their lives, they were actually able to get along.
Well, but it was also without Thanos, they probably would never have known each other.
Yeah.
Like, they probably wouldn't have had to have a lot of problems that they had if it wasn't for Thanos.
But that's what I saw as like, that was the resolution to their conflict, was that they don't have this guy trying to pit them against each other. And that without that, when they're deciding what to do on their own, that's what they come to.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But this is interesting because this is a sequel trope that you can see in, everything from Terminator 2 to Fantastic Four 2. Funny as it is to say, but bringing back a character who was an antagonist in the first film, and having them be an ally. So there's tension, there's interplay. I mean, it was which is interesting. It was I don't know if it quite worked for me, but it was a valiant attempt in that regard.
I like the Sovereigns.
Yes, yeah.
They were a good. Are we going to go into spoiler territory?
Yeah, we can go into spoiler territory.
They were a good decoy villain.
Yes, yeah. Well, I thought a lot of the action was very muddled, and it's a lot of blurs of CGI ships, and it's like I didn't know what the heck was going on half the time.
It was a lot of space stuff.
Yeah, a lot of space stuff.
But
it's Guardians, but it's a lot of like spaceship fight battles.
Yeah, but I will say the arcade sounds from the Sovereign ships. I mean that was priceless. I mean, like that's something I think these movies do really well, is that they're not afraid to be a little kitschy in a very fun way.
Oh yeah. For me, like you brought up the pacing issues. I agree wholeheartedly, because it very much felt like the first half. It's just nothing happens, but there's no forward momentum. It's just them kind of reacting to things that happen to them. We got like Rocket and Groot. At least their escape attempts. That's something. The stuff with the stuff that's on Ego's planet. It's just them learning stuff.
It feels a little bit like they take a vacation in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, let's compare this to Captain America: The Winter Soldier. In my opinion, the most successful of the Marvel sequels. Like there's a real cohesion to that movie. There's one plot. Steve Rogers is on the run, and the Winter Soldier's in the mix, and he's being chased. He has to find out what's going on. And this was a little slipshod in Guardians Vol 2. I mean, in terms of you've got Yondu, you've got Ego, you've got Sylvester Stallone popping in for a cameo. You've got the
Sovereign.
The Sovereign. Yes, yeah. It's a little it almost made me think of like This almost feels like an episode of a Guardians TV show,
Which there is.
That's animated.
It's animated. It's fine. Like it's very kid-centric, and it's lacking a lot of the nuance of the movie, which is an odd thing to say because it's a very straightforward movie. But it's
right, sure.
I mean, it's a kid show, and it's fine. It's not gonna change your life, but it's.
Well, I mean.
It does feel like a moment in the middle of their lives rather than like a cohesive beginning, middle, and end.
Sure.
Which, I mean, that could easily play into the later movies.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
I mean, we got them popping up in the.
There's definitely going to be in Infinity War.
In the Infinity War,
fucking everybody is going to be in Infinity War.
So I mean, you got that popping up, and then after that, we got a whole other Volume 3. So
we're probably going to get a third Guardians movie.
Yeah, it's in there.
James Gunn, I know, said he's writing it. So
there's a sequel tease.
Yeah.
So I mean, who knows? This happens a lot with a lot of Marvel movies, other than Winter Soldier aside, which is surprisingly the most successful sequel.
And who would have thought with the guys who did Community directing? I mean, that was it's still really no pun intended to Marvel.
No. Whenever you seem to think none of it will make sense, or like that can't work, it somehow does. It's whenever you think that it's a sure thing, it seems to fall flat.
Sure.
I love Thor 2 and Iron Man 2.
Yeah, Iron Man 2, awful. Yeah.
Anything that you kind of think is a sure thing, I think with Marvel tends to fall a little flat. But maybe that's just expectation.
What?
Maybe expectation. I don't know. you see Iron Man, you love Iron Man. There's Iron Man 2. You're so excited for Iron Man 2.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Iron Man 2
Yeah.
obviously has a lot of issues, but I mean, what part of that is kind of excitement? I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy was something we've never seen before, so when we get a second one, of course, we're all very excited. I mean,
Absolutely.
a movie that's so good that even a soundtrack is like something to look forward to. Like,
I've been humming or singing "Hooked on a Feeling" just in anticipation of seeing this. I mean, it seeps into it because they deploy
exactly.
it well.
I mean, this is. I think the movie is mediocre, but I think part of your hurt feelings could also just be a little let down because it was not nearly as
I
good.
went in trying to temper my expectations because I knew it wasn't gonna be like the new fresh thing. But even still, it's just like, oh, we're doing this again. That was fun the first time. Like,
But it doesn't feel like a full repeat of the last time.
It wasn't a full repeat. It does go to some new places and there's some fun stuff in it. There's not enough new there that would get me excited.
Okay, I can give you that.
This speaks to, I think, the difficulty of, second sequels, and I'll bring up the Terminator analogy again because it's so goddamn convenient. You have the first Terminator, very simple and compelling story. A cyborg wants to kill a woman, she defeats him. You get the second Terminator, which takes that storyline to a much more complex level with complicated alliances and taking this idea of there's no fate but what you make, and contradicting what the first film says. You have to accept your fate, and then saying no, you can fight it. You decide what your fate is. That was really taking that narrative, that idea to the next level. And
in terms of genre, they're basically two different movies. The first Terminator it's a stalker thriller chase, and the second one is full-on high-flying action sci-fi.
Exactly,
Like,
and this is why it's hard to do.
It feels like the only reason why there's like a Terminator in the first place is like, oh, we want a stalker movie, but we need a reason why our villain is literally an unkillable machine. Unstoppable machine, and so let's make him that.
Yeah, and when a movie like that or The Winter Soldier, The Empire Strikes Back kind of comes up with a new series paradigm in a way. I mean, those movies that do it well make it look easy, but it's, as we know, it's a very hard thing to do, and I think you can see that in this, also in a film like Age of Ultron, which is solid, but kind of
tried.
it doesn't feel like the game-changing, raising the stakes second chapter the one might hope for. I think you could make that argument with Guardians.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. We're not talking about Age of Ultron.
Yes.
I like the new cast members.
Only
only two of them. Really, and I guess Elizabeth Debicki, if you can count that.
Who was
She was the main sovereign.
The sovereign
okay.
high priestess.
Well, I gotta bring up my favorite new cast member, and I'm gonna mispronounce her name terribly. Pom Klementieff as the
Mantis.
Mantis. Yeah,
Mantis is excellent.
Antenna person. She was I thought she had a very she had a very kind of like ethereal, expressive delivery and incredible makeup, and it really helped because like there were times when I felt like Chris Pratt, he didn't seem like. He seemed like he kind of seemed like he was phoning it in, and Pom Klementieff
he's gotta act sad.
They didn't give him enough comedic meat to play with. Whereas Pom Klementieff, you feel her she's new to this, she's present. Yes, he was toned down.
It felt like it was less Guardians of the Galaxy or Parks and Recreation Chris Pratt and more Jurassic World Chris Pratt.
Sure.
Which, not the best Chris Pratt, but Pom, she was so good.
She was so good.
And her and the back and forth between her and Drax were just spot on.
Yeah, Dave Bautista is still their secret weapon.
It's so good.
Dave Bautista is such a great example of there are purposes for wooden actors. He's not like a super expressive guy, and that's exactly the guy you want doing this. Like it wouldn't be funny if Alec Baldwin was Drax or something.
No,
although now that I said that, I kind of want to see that.
I would watch that.
I think there are people who could do it, and I think there's something about Dave Bautista, and James Gunn has said it. He goes, it was because I couldn't have picked anyone better, and I think he sees something there within him, and I think I think Dave Bautista, I don't think he's going to win an Academy Award in my lifetime.
Nah.
Or in his lifetime. But I think he
Well, not until he plays a paralyzed guy with a Russian accent and a glass eye.
But I think...
During World War II.
Yeah, that
Based
would
on a
seal
true
the deal.
story.
Yeah. Oh,
But I really think that he has a place in there, and I think that's apparent with these movies, and I think he's gonna do other things. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, great.
I'm sure he
Again,
will,
probably
yeah.
nothing earth-shattering.
He's in Blade Runner 2049. I mean, I'm excited to see him in that.
I missed that trailer, by the way, but we'll see.
It was completely wasted in Spectre, but then again, everyone was.
That's a conversation for another day, because as you know full well, I disagree.
Oh.
But I want to go back to something we nodded to earlier, which is the dramatic elements of this movie. And again, we're gonna go into spoiler territory here. Of course, Yondu dies, and the movie doesn't really try and awkwardly perk things up, except for in the end credit scenes, a la X-Men: The Last Stand. It really
There's a few laughs.
Yeah, well, it
But
ends.
it's just how the rhythm of this script is.
Yeah, it ends on pretty much an unabashedly sad note, and I'm just curious. Did that work for you guys? Did it feel effective?
It worked, and I think it was kind of necessary. Like, I would have loved to have seen Yondu survive. I grew to care for him over the movie, and I like Michael Rooker as an actor. And like James Gunn I'm sure James Gunn would have been happy to bring his buddy back for movie 3. But if you're gonna take these characters seriously, if they're not just talking heads or joke machines or whatever, then they have to have humanity, even if they are not human. So you gotta if something sad happens, you gotta take it seriously. You can make a few jokes, but remember that this is a sad moment. You gotta take it seriously. And they did that, and I commend them for that.
Max?
I think it works. I think it's very easy to end on a note that kind of makes you chuckle, or even just something kind of neutral.
Yeah.
I think that movie ends on a fairly neutral, sad note, but I think they also know we have credits, and as we all saw from the 4 or 5 post-credit sequences, there are
Which may
plenty
be a
of
record. I would not be surprised.
There's plenty of moments to make you laugh during the credits,
Yeah.
because we are a Marvel movie and we can. So why not end on a sad note for at least a minute and then come back in for a giggle?
Yeah, you guys both bring up good points, and I think I think Yondu's sacrifice could have been a lot more powerful if his relationship with Peter had made more sense, because they were really at each other's throats in the first one, and now it's like, oh, he's his dad. It's like, what? It felt like kind of like they were trying to bend it into a shape it didn't want to bend into. But I have no problem with the film ending on a downbeat note, and I actually like that with sequels. I mean, it goes back to the Empire Strikes Back thing. The first one ends with him, Luke getting a medal. The second one ends with him, beaten up, staring out longingly at the galaxy, And I think that is, I think the idea that's core is a wise choice. But sorry, what were you going to say, Mo?
What was I going to say? I think, for me, something that he could have played up more was his turn. Like, it's hinted at, but it's not really fleshed out. Like, I think, for me, the turning point was the mutiny, and when they start throwing people loyal to him out of the airlock. And it's sort of that realization, this is what my life has led to. These people who followed me are dead now. What have I done for them?
Sure.
And I think it's that notion could have been played up. It is sort of, not so much in the cinematography, but just in the way, in Michael Rooker's performance, and just him being utterly defeated by everything around him.
See, yeah, because what you're describing, I think that's an interesting moment, and it was there, and I think with sharper editing, you could bring it more into the foreground. It's interesting.
I would say Michael Rooker actually has probably the most not so, hey, this is how I'm feeling performance. He's more subtle.
He's very good.
I think that was a great character.
Absolutely.
And it's so sad that probably one of the best characters in the series is now not with us.
I'm gonna miss his crazy team, that's for sure.
Although I will say, did you guys notice that this movie actually takes place 3 years ago?
I guess.
Really?
Because the movie starts, it says it was 1980 when Peter's father meets his mother, and then it cuts to 34 years later. So from 1980 to 2014, and I wonder if that was planned, or maybe the Marvel Universe is just playing a few years back, or maybe it's going to come back to, like in the later films, like, oh yeah, that was 3 years ago.
I was just curious about how old Peter is in relation to all this, because he's when he gets abducted, he's like 8 or 9 or something like that, and then they say 27 years later, so he's at least like 37.
30. He can't be more than 34.
You think so?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to fact check that one, because apparently Kurt Russell met his mother was going strong in 1980.
He got the birthday present that was like the second cassette tape. What birthday was that? Do we remember?
I don't remember. I have not watched. I actually made it a point to not watch the first movie before watching this one.
You want to go in clean?
Well, kind of. I mean, I was like, I remember the last one fairly well, but I didn't want to. I've learned that when you sometimes love something and then someone makes a sequel of it and you rewatch the first one and remember how great it is, you can just be let down so much more by that sequel.
Sure.
Much like reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire right before seeing Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire for the first time.
See, that's
all the books to read before the movie.
I love that movie. Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, but wasn't that the one where it's like, oh, Voldemort came back? We're going to spend literally an entire chapter explaining how that happened.
About what?
in the fourth one, when Voldemort comes back to life.
I think you kind of had to. I mean, it's a momentous
moment.
But
it's just like, it's the parlor room scene, but like everyone's at each other's throats.
All I know is that the fourth book is like the second biggest book in the series, and it has like the most left out of it. Again, a conversation for another time.
Well, any final Guardians thoughts before we sign off, you guys?
Did Baby Groot work?
Again, I'm in the minority. I've never been that charmed by Groot. Like, I feel like I like that you looked like when Groot goes gasps when Rocket says oh boo-hoo, my wife is out. that was good. But I mean, I feel like the I am Groot thing, it kind of feels like
it feels like he got downgraded, but then again, Groot is not a character who had character development.
Yeah,
and that worked in the first movie because it was just he was more of a sounding board for Rocket.
Yeah,
and he had an identity of himself. He was an innocent. He was wide-eyed and optimistic, kind of, but it worked there, and it was in this group of cynics, he was very necessary. In this one, he kind of gets shoved to the side. He's just kind of like, he's a kid.
Well, like every time he kind of, looked up at the camera with, all doe-eyed, I kind of felt like, oh, I hate you, you're trying so hard to, like, make me think that you're cute, but really it just...
Just accept it, Ben. He is cute. He's adorable. Trust me, I was like, I'm not going to love Baby Groot just because it's Baby Groot, but... Come on, he was funny. He was hilarious, and then they beat up on him, and you feel bad, and then he's kind of dumb, too, which I didn't really quite understand. I was like, how can he be dumb? Wasn't he once, like a big tree creature?
Yeah, but
I guess he was also
mentally 3 or something.
But then also I started thinking back. I was like, he also wasn't the brightest tree either.
That's true.
Yeah, and I was like, maybe Groot's kind of just dumb. Okay, that's fine. I'm alright with that. I'm a little dumb sometimes. I can identify with that.
He didn't get to say we are Groot this time.
No, but see, that's also the thing is that I think before, I think they kind of relied on the I am Groot. Someone translate last time, and so this time it was like, well, we could do that thing again, but he's also a baby, so we could just kind of work off the Baby Groot thing, and I think they did that.
Well,
I liked it.
My question is, suddenly everybody knows Groot speak, including Peter, so I want to know where you go to learn that.
It's just enough time around it.
You can catch the nuances, I guess. Yeah.
You know how when you travel to a foreign country and you kind of start picking up the language? I guess it's like that.
Yeah.
Like picking up Wookiee speak, I guess.
Hey.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Thank you all for listening. If you like this podcast, please click thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and check us out. All the reviews we've got at thomoviereviews.wordpress.com. And once again, I'm Bennett Campbell Ferguson here with Maxwell Meyers and Mo Shaunette. And happy movie watching.
We are Groot.
We are.
Well said, you guys.